Judge Joe Brown's all-new barbecue sauce and seasoning. Justice in the form of flavor.
Law firms will take this as a retainer.
What? It must be a law firm where they hungry as hell. Now you gonna help me with this parole I'm dealing with?
Judge Joe Brown's all-new barbecue sauce and seasoning. Justice in the form of flavor. With one taste of our premium blends of all-natural ingredients, herbs, and spices, you'll fall in love with meat all over again. Judge Joe Brown's all-natural barbecue sauce collection is made up of 2 zesty flavors, original and spicy. There's only one way to bring order back to barbecuing. Just add Judge Joe Brown's all-natural barbecue sauce and seasoning, and you be the judge.
Hi guys, testing 1 2 3. Everybody, let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Happy Thursday. I am having some serious allergy problems, and I normally don't get allergies, especially around this time, but it hit me really bad this morning, and it just hit me again this evening. But I'm here. All right, guys. And hello to everybody on X. Everybody here on YouTube, can you please like and repost the video, share the video. On X, like and repost. On YouTube, like and share. I'm coming. I don't care. All right. So I don't really have much of a monologue today. Oh, it's still my birthday season. It is still my birthday season. But let me tell you guys what we're going to be talking about. The Supreme Court, they had a case for ghost guns. I kind of don't understand what it is, so the judge definitely will talk about it and break that down. Diddy, his trial was set for May of 2025, but he did not get bail. A bail appeal is still pending via the Second Circuit. And if that gets denied, most likely he's going to be sitting in prison until his trial. And of course, during a trial, right? And they're saying the trial is going to be 3 weeks. So we got to talk about that. And we got to talk about Obama, honey. Yes, honey. Obama got out in Pittsburgh tonight, stumping for Kamala. She wasn't there. He spoke for over 30 minutes, longer than her. You would think he's running for president, right? He's the star. And, of course, he had to specifically kick the backs of black men in. So we don't talk about the black men vote. But I don't care how much pizzazz he has left. She is still going to lose. And I'm going to mention the 60-minute interview, a little bit of the migrants, and a little more of the things. So, okay, the judge is here. Hi.
All right. Hi.
Let me put this here. So, I wanted to start off with the Obama conversation. He was in Pittsburgh. He was in Pittsburgh stomping for Kamala Harris. He gave a speech at a rally, over 30 minutes, longer than her. And it was a crowded, whatever they had it at. It wasn't larger than Trump. But he got into his preacher mode. Did you catch any of it?
He pimped Reverend White, whom he threw under the bus his first run for office. He learned how to be preachy from him. He learned the style. So he was doing Reverend White. And I'm not impressed with either one of them. They have a suntan, but they have absolutely no connection with me. So I evaluate them the same way I would a George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, Jerry Ford, Triggy Dick Nixon, LBJ, Ron Reagan on performance. I mean, I don't even let the color interject because they have no connection with me. So Obama impressed me as a waste of time. I told people when he ran the first time he wasn't going to deliver anything, and he didn't. So 0 from 0 leaves 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. And that's exactly what we have, a 0 talking up a 0. If anything, she's a minus about 9 on a 10 scale. She's incompetent. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing. She does not have leadership capacity. She screwed her way to the top. And once you get to the top, the interesting thing is there's nobody left to screw. You have to perform.
Just a little disclaimer. You may, and the audience may hear me do some sniffling and maybe some sneezing because my allergies is I need to take a Xanax or something tomorrow. Zyrtec. So yeah, I'm going through some allergy things here. Well, I was hoping that someone, at least on X, will grab some clips of his speech because it was literally 44 minutes. And I'm not trying to sit up here and play 44 minutes. Oh, I do have some clips here on his X thing. And by the way, I heard my father in his room. He's watching football now, but I heard my father. That's right. Go ahead, brother. And it's like, okay, so he's still like he was just talking about with the preacher effect. Black people are still hypnotized with Obama and some white people too. So I just want to play a couple of his clips, and then I want to ask you a question regarding him and Kamala.
When it comes to health care, you heard it in the debate. Donald Trump's got one answer. Ending the Affordable Care Act that 45 million people rely on. The other day, his running mate, J.D. Vance, you got to vote. The other day, his running mate had the nerve to say, Donald Trump salvaged the Affordable Care Act. I mean, Donald Trump spent his entire presidency trying to tear it down. And by the way, he couldn't even do that right. And now, 8 years after he was elected, when he was asked about what he was going to do, he says he's got concepts of a plan for how he'd replace it. Now, I want you all to think about this for a second. Let's say your boss gives you an assignment, a project. He says, I need this on Friday. And Friday comes around and he says, oh, did you finish that project I asked for? And he says, well, I actually haven't started, but I have a concept of a plan. Or you could try it at home. Honey, did you do the dishes? I have a concept of a plan to do the dishes. How's that going to go over? If it wouldn't work for you, why in the heck should it work for the President of the United States?
What did he just say?
I was going to say the same thing.
Kamala Harris, she doesn't have concepts for a plan. She has an actual plan to make it better.
Bullshit. Can we stop a second for a little fact check here?
Yeah, that was the end of that one.
Okay, let me do a fact check. Obamacare, which is what is affordable health care is known as, was not a creature of Barack Obama. A Dr. William Frist, Bill Frist, senior Republican senator from the state of Tennessee, whose family founded Blue Cross Blue Shield, except etc., drafted what became Affordable Care, the Affordable Care Act in 2003. He couldn't get it passed because it was so shaky. Obama's investment firm or trust fund invested in Blue Cross in 2009, and then in 2010 he pushed it because there was a financial gain from it, and it became known as Obamacare. When you read the thing, you find out how atrocious it is. Trump noted it, but said it's best to leave it in place until something better is developed, and he had a concept in mind as to what that was about. That's how it works. He is a businessman. He has managed a lot. Obama lives off of a trust fund that his daddy set up, which makes him one of the richest people around. And he's talking smack. He's talking crap because it is a horrible plan. I have to go through it, and I know what a mess it is. It's not good, and it needs to be replaced by something more equitable, in other words, fair, something more economical, and something that does not give the medical insurance industry a giveaway of billions of dollars in tax money that ought to be spent directly on the taxpayers' health, not the situation with the corporate entity. So, yeah, okay, that's a fact check. He's not responsible. It was a Republican who, by the way, was Senate Majority Leader for the Republican Party when it was finally passed.
Can you hear
Now,
me? You can hear me?
yes, I hear you.
A lot of people, after the Affordable Care, people are so gung-ho. Let's just say 2 years into it, a lot of people don't like it, even to this day. They don't like it. I hear more bad reviews than good reviews. So what was presented or marketed to the American people to be, oh my God, affordable health care, right? Not free, but affordable, and we can't be rejected no matter of any pre-existing conditions. And I think that was the only thing in there that people can appreciate today. But other than that, I hear so many complaints. What's going on?
Trying to adjust my sound here.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. But
even my mother, who she's a senior citizen, she doesn't like it, so a lot of companies laid off a lot of people because people's like, we don't know what to expect. It was a lot of smoke and mirrors type thing. And when the dust settled, the only thing people appreciated was, okay, I'm not going to get turned down because pre-existing.
That none of them are turning you down for pre-existing. That's just,
or they hike up your rate if you have a pre-existing.
Yeah, well, that's just individual care. Group plans tend not to. The thing is to get group plans, and the cities could be encouraged to expand their group plans that they have for their employees to include ordinary people, which would help things out, and the feds could finance that to great profit. If you read Affordable Health Care, it is a windfall to the medical insurance companies. And by the way, the whole industry is being lied about. It's not the pharmaceutical companies that are raising the prices. It's the medical insurance companies. You get Blue Cross. I remember when I was a judge, it was $146 a month. And for 6.5 years, I didn't get a single benefit. If you go outside of the medical insurance company, I demanded and got Prudential Life Insurance's plan called PruCare. I only paid $28 a month with a $5 copay. That helped out a lot. $28 versus $140 some a month. 130, yeah. I mean, it didn't work out well. And it's a ripoff. You notice stuff that why is it if you have a 90-day prescription, like one pharmaceutical I have, if you get a 30-day supply, the deductible is $482 for 30 days, or the copay. But if you get a 90-day supply, the copay for the whole 90 days isn't but $19. Why? When you read it, you find out how much money is going to the medical insurance companies.
Yeah. So, yeah. So it's, again, Trump may not have a replacement, but what he does know for sure, there's a lot of cons with the Affordable Care Act.
And
So
by Medicare. Medicare is a fraud the way it's run. They raid the Medicare fund and they want everybody to put in what would be required of them immediately. Now, you would think if you held off on applying for Medicare and you had a group insurance plan, that would be for the benefit of a lot of people. You'd save other taxpayers dollars, right? But that's not what's going on. They want you to put money in the fund so they can rob it for their little special projects. What do you mean by robbing it? Last year, this time, I had a group insurance plan, the deluxe edition, and I paid very little money for it. I paid $1,672 a year, and I paid about $3,500 in copay. I have Medicare now, and it costs me $14,800 a year for Medicare. And so far, I've hit $8,000 at this point in the year in copay for medication. Now, why am I paying 3 times as much for Medicare as I was paying 4 times as much for, 5 times as much for Medicare as I was paying 4.5 times as much for Medicare as I was paying for private group insurance? What's going on here? See, they want me to put that money in so that they can steal it for other programs because the fund is going crazy.
I want to play this next clip. He loves talking about Trump, honey.
What I cannot understand is why anybody would think that Donald Trump will shake things up in a way that is good for you, Pennsylvania. I don't understand that.
Well, maybe that's why I don't like the son of a bitch. He can't think like I can.
Because there is absolutely no evidence that this man thinks about anybody but himself. I've said it before. Donald Trump is a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems since he rode down his golden escalator 9 years ago. You've got the tweets in all caps, the ranting and the raving about crazy conspiracy theories. You got the 2-hour speeches, word salad, just
no, he
like,
didn't.
Fidel Castro.
No, he didn't.
Just on and on. Constant attempts to sell you stuff. Who does that? Selling you gold sneakers and $100,000 watch and most recently a Trump Bible. He wants you to buy the Word of God, Donald Trump edition. Got his name right there next to Matthew and Luke. I mean, you could not make this stuff up. If you saw it on Saturday Night Live, you'd say, well, no, that's going too far. No, he's doing that. It's crazy. And the reason he does it is because all he cares about is his ego and his money and his status. He's not thinking about you.
Well, you know what? I went through your administration. You sure as hell didn't act like you thought about us either. You didn't do one goddamn thing except bullshit.
Exactly.
And I made more money under Trump because the tax situation was better. The whole economy was operating better. It was run more efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
And it was more into principle. So what the hell did you do?
So I want to ask you a question. Do you think Obama really likes Kamala Harris?
Frankly, my dad, I don't give a damn.
I don't think he does. Listen, it's 3.5 weeks out for the election day, and he has to go out and stomp for her. I don't see Michelle Obama out there. I don't, but again, this is part of the DNC. That's part of your job. I don't think he believes in her. I don't think he really likes her. But I think he knows she is not qualified, but we are a team. We have to stick together. And again, he brings on that preacher accent. She tries to do it. She tries to mimic a lot of things that he does, and it just falls flat. He is a con artist. He's very charismatic. He speaks well to a crowd.
He's a chick flick matinee star.
Well, he knows how to massage and manipulate the crowd and get the crowd on his side. But I wanted to play this, but I just want to say that I cannot see them. You know how sometimes usually a person come out and speak and then the candidate comes out? Well, I guess because she's in Arizona, but I don't think that would never happen because he is the star. She is not. She's a pretender. But I genuinely think he doesn't care too much for her. That's what it is. He doesn't care too much for her. But there's still a lot of people are still under that Obama spell. Do you think he's going to make a difference and help her in the polls, Obama?
You might hurt her. There are a whole lot of people who, if they find out he's supporting her strongly, would be definitely voting against her because they can't stand him.
Right. And the polls are now switched. Trump is actually leading in the polls, and it's really because she's damaging herself. When we talk about that 60-minute interview that she did, and the editing, I think I saved it.
Oh, that was a disgrace. 60 Minutes actually edited out her word salad.
Now, maybe they were forced to do that, like they were told to edit it out.
Who told them?
The administration, maybe.
So what is the administration going to do if they don't?
I don't know. Maybe down the line you're going to need a favor, and if you don't listen to it.
How about that CNN, CBS, ABC, MSNBC, etc., ABC, they all have a common interest in that rainbow crowd.
True. So, I mean,
that's their party.
They're all in on it.
That's their party. So they're all in league with this together. Instead of red, white, and black that the Nazis had, they have a rainbow. And if you put 4 of their new flags together at an angle, right angle, you get a swastika. It's interesting.
Well, this is
they put that black shivering in for Black Lives Matter. They added that into the rainbow flag, and when you take it and you switch it, you get a swastika.
Well, this is the clip from the 60 Minutes that they're saying was removed because of Kamala's, they're calling it word salad.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
But it seems.
So the edited one did sound better. And I don't know. It amazes me how editing and production, especially when you have all that equipment, what you can do and how you can make a person sound. So with that said, I think a lot of stuff that we are hearing on mainstream media is just like that edited version.
Yeah, it is. Unedited. What's that sound like?
You listen to the unedited one. That was the first one. Her actual.
Yeah, I know it doesn't say anything at all, and that they even chopped that up a bit. It was longer.
She was thinking and stuttering. It's like she didn't have an answer.
She didn't, and you should, if you're going to be jumping into leading, you should already have the answer to that one well settled in your mind. Now let's hear it. You have the edited version.
Yeah, the edited one was the one at the bottom. So I'll play it again.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it's.
Why don't you tell the truth? Netanyahu is not listening, and we are working on bringing him around to a point of view that would allow an effective resolution of the problems in the area.
Right. So that was the actual answer. So now I'm going to press play, and this is the edited answer.
Seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
But it seems that.
Yeah.
That was the edited.
It cleaned it up. Still didn't say a damn thing.
Right.
In other words, in a debate, what's your point? Or what point are you making?
She's not even making a point. That's
what you say. More word salad. That's why Europe doesn't respect her. And she failed that task of being the diplomat assigned or delegated the authority by the president to stand informed, since he couldn't go over there, since Ukraine had a long organized crime felony warrant against him. Indictment. Which under the Article 6, we're supposed to apprehend him, detain him, and extradite him to Ukraine for trial. But we're not going to do that because of what's in his head, meaning Biden. So are we in Ukraine, by the way, so that Ukraine will do him the favor of dismissing the indictment, or are we really over there to do something about the American interest? And when you look at that in Ukraine that way, and you look at what's going on in the Middle East, in Gaza, Palestine, etc., is it the same kind of thing? One problem we have is this disaster of we have not been keeping up with the necessary rocket engines for the missile artillery that we need. We have a production level of 125 per year. That means 250, maybe another 70 will be added on top of that, for a total of 320 by the time China says in 2027, if necessary, they're going to invade Taiwan, which is 80 miles offshore, which can be reached by an attack jet in 3 to 4 minutes after crossing the Chinese coast. So what are we going to do? We have all of our missiles deployed, we'll have about 3.5 days worth of rounds, meaning ammunition, to shoot it out for 3.5, maybe 4 days if that hasn't dropped since we've been giving away that scant supply. We need about 5,000 more missiles than we have, and we can make maybe 300 between now and then, and that's the bare bones minimum. It's a disaster.
Yeah. So I want to swing to the Black men vote. What made me come up with this is two things. I came across Stephen A. Smith YouTube channel, and he interviewed Roland Martin. And I was going to play like a clip of that, but I'm not going to do it. I'll do that by myself, like on when I'm live by myself, because Stephen A, his voice irritates me. He yells, and it's like, why are you yelling like you're so excited? And you know, you don't care too much for Roland. Oh, by the way, he blocked me on Twitter. I commented under his one of his tweets. This was like over a week ago. And then of course his little minions try to get at me, but I was getting at them. And he eventually blocked me. I'm like, I must be doing something right. But anyway.
Sissy action.
Exactly.
The Pillsbury Doughboy with chocolate chips.
Should I play a piece of that clip, or you don't want to hear it?
You can go ahead and play it.
All right.
You want to, go for it.
Let me see. Oh, I gotta pull it up here. Wait a minute. Because I can't believe that Obama, he was just talking too damn long.
And he did make a good speech. It was basically incoherent.
Word salad, the audacity.
Yeah. See, in other words, that's a typical propaganda tactic. You flip the script.
All right, so this is the video where they're talking about Black men voters. Let me get this commercial out of here.
When I read you what I just read, I know you read the whole article. To give you props like that. This man, when you read this article and all, now I got you. Keep.
Okay, so let me just give you a little bit of context where it came from. So this man here, what's his name? Charles Coleman Jr. He wrote an article, an opinion on the New York Times this week on the 8th. Black men are waiting for a Democratic Party that delivers for them. And in this is just the first paragraph. Black men today face a unique reality that warrants consideration. Under nearly any relevant index of measuring the quality of American life, how far we get in school, our finances when compared with those of our white counterparts, and how long we will live, Black men consistently rank last and near last. There is not a Black man alive in this country right now who has ever seen Black male unemployment equal to or less than that of his white counterparts. This is true even more accurately for a 34-year-old Black man born in 1990 who may have voted in every presidential election since his 18th birthday, saw the election of a Black president, and spent more of his adult life with Democrats in the Oval Office than Republicans. How could we not be asking ourselves come November, which candidate can help us change our course? So this is the article that Stephen A. was referencing, right? When it comes to Black men, the Democrat is still majority Black people, but you do see an uptick with Black men, particularly switching to the Republican and voting Trump. And so he brings Roland on, because I guess Roland is the media spokesperson for Black America on a Democrat plantation. And I guess he's supposed to be an expert, but I just wanted to highlight some of the things that Roland was saying about Black men particularly.
Keep it going, because you keeping it going, bro. You was moving pretty damn good. Way to go. And leading the pack, by the way. You were doing your thing in front of an audience. It wasn't read. I know you read the whole article. But when I read you what I just read, how did you feel about what he had to say in that column?
So there are a number of things that Charles wrote that I've literally talked about on my show and actually have been talking about for the last 12 years. So let me unpack that. In 2012, first of all, I sent you guys a graphic. So in 2008, Black men, 95% voted for Obama, 5% voted for then Senator McCain. Then it jumps to 11 in 2012. Why is that? Because you heard black men were saying they felt that Obama did not deliver. So there was a 9-point gap between black men and black women. So then when you go to 2016, then the number increases. A lot of people kept saying misogyny, they ain't supporting no woman in Hillary Clinton, but they ignored it was 2 men in 2012. Now you go to 2020, it was 2 men, Biden and Trump. And what then happens? Same thing. Okay, you see the number increase. Now, the chart that you just showed, it's important to understand. Black men,
it's still up there.
Black men are like all other men. They're naturally more conservative. White men, Hispanic men, Asian men, black men.
That's true.
That's a male issue. But when it comes to Democrats, black women are their number 1 voting bloc. Black men are still their number 2. So what do you now like? So like, what's going on here? What's the difference? What Trump does, Trump presents this tough guy. I'm manhood. I'm a do what I say. I say what I mean. That is attractive. That's attractive to a certain group of men. Now, when Charles was talking about this dissatisfaction in terms of these perceptions that, you know, the Democratic Party is a party of women. Well, first of all, perception is a lie. Now, we say sometimes one perception becomes reality. Here's the reality about black men. Who's the highest ranking black man in the Democratic Party? No, the highest ranking African American in the Democratic Party. You got Vice President Kamala.
Would that be Hakeem?
But the minority leader is Hakeem Jeffries. Who was the person who actually made the policy?
Stereotypes, those kind of things. I got you. I got you.
Men thinking a woman shouldn't do certain jobs or she can't be a leader. Well, the reality is there have been female leaders all across the world. Mexico, female president. India, Golda Meir was leading this thing. We can go on and on and on.
Okay.
But what Charles laid out, it is true that it's a huge piece here. What Democrat, and I'm gonna say Democratic white strategists don't understand, is that the further you get away from the Black civil rights movement, Black people less self-identify as Democrats. You and I are Gen X. I've been really paying attention to this since I graduated from college in 1991. You and I are in different tax brackets than our parents. You and I, and others are focusing on things that our parents didn't focus on. So what now begins to happen? You now begin to look at stuff differently. If you never owned the business, you didn't care about a corporate tax rate. You now own the business, you do.
Yes, you do.
So it's a pocketbook issue. So what Democrats have not done is they have not crafted a strategy on how do you micro-target Black people.
Who is a Black woman? Who we have a minority, Speaker of the House in Hakeem Jeffries. He's Black. We saw, Clyburn. He got Biden elected. If you're going to bring up all of these things, then how do these surrogates, how do these folks that are really financing the campaigns and what have you get away with not paying attention to the Black community when you know you need them in order to win? Why are those folks in power letting these folks get away with that? Are you trying to win or are you not?
Right. And first of all, you're absolutely right. And messages do matter. I can tell you in 2016.
All right. So did you want to comment on any of that?
The Democratic Party long ago came into being to further slavery. The people that founded the Democratic Party knew how to manage Negroes, and they knew how to put the elements of slavery that were crucial into the Negro's culture, so he would teach himself how to be a slave. The Democrats don't seem to have institutionally forgotten how to do that. And now you still have the plantation, you still have the plantation culture. They evoke it, but the Negroes have no cotton to pick. They just make rainbows. So Cotton Pickers Jubilee is switched over to rainbow fantasy, and it's the same thing. They got a bunch of Negroes, including these on the plantation, and they don't know how to think freely because they think in terms of loyalty, and they overlook and don't realize the racism that they're dealing with, the grievous insult that you can't run stuff. And if you are to be appealed to, it's take your booties to the poll rather than something intellectual, rational, reasonable, logical, analytical, and dispassionate. So the whole party is an insult. And then I don't care whether I sound misogynistic, but I think black men have had enough with non-male leadership in their communities, and they've seen how badly that's failed. So they've said enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, but is it because the lack of male leadership in the black community is because
Yeah,
of
that's right. You have
existence
to
here?
mammy raised boys. You don't have enough men who have raised boys or attempted to influence them, and you have too much of a culture that is too feminized. So it's not surprising that you have what you have. The basic ideation from your typical male black, whether he's college educated or he's dropped out of school, is finding the woman that'll take care of him.
Mm-hmm. And what is wrong with a black person voting Republican? Not just for Trump, because just because you vote for Trump in a general election doesn't mean you are a Republican, because the general election is open to anyone, no matter what party you registered to. You could be a Democrat and then vote Republican. You just, whatever party that you are registered in, that allows you to vote for that party primarily in the primaries election, which is important, especially when you're talking about local. But what is wrong with black people saying, you know what, we've been on this Democratic plantation way too long. Let's go to the Republican plantation. I'm calling it a plantation because everyone, no matter what color you are, you know, we mainly have a two-party system, and maybe we need more parties, but whatever. It's the reason why we have two parties, because of the wealthy lobbyists that make it so. However, what is wrong with saying we need to go on a Republican side?
Well, it's been 155 years since black folk were able to vote, at least theoretically. That's the end of the Civil War in 1865. Now, out of that 65 years, you've got about 65 of them. Out of that 155, you've got about 65 years. 65 years where black folk were reliably voting Democrats, say 1960. For the other period of time, the other 90 years, what goes on is that black folk were staunchly Republican. So let's just put it this way. Not only is there nothing wrong with black folk voting Republican, it's just things are sorting themselves out, so they're going back to the way they used to be. The Republican Party had more of interest to your typical black person than the Democratic Party. And they alter that due to some economic factors and civil rights and stuff like that. But right now, they're going back true to form, and they've got plantations without any cotton for the Negroes to pick, but rainbows to make.
And if Black people voted Republican majority of the time, you know, majority of Black person went back to the Republican Party, do you think that will ever happen? Now, let me ask you that. Do you think?
Yeah, it could, because there are a lot of people that are disenchanted with this stuff right now. See, this is a cusp situation. On one side of it, there's a potential for you not to be able to speak out. And everything you heard Malcolm X say, Martin Luther King say, Stokely Carmichael say, that would wind up having you slammed into jail, because some people want to get rid of the First Amendment. There is no way we're going to be able to take control of our neighborhoods while our thugs are disarmed and the rest of us are, no, excuse me, when our thugs are armed to the teeth and the rest of us are disarmed. So you will be stripped of your ability to protect yourself. We have things that we do that we're supposed to be able to enjoy because our households are sacred. Nobody can invade them. But now they want to strip the Fourth Amendment protections from inappropriate search. So it's not going to be very safe being someone who does not adhere to the party line. You hear this mention over and over again of misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, and who's going to control it. 90 years ago, the Germans gave it to the Gestapo with the disaster that came out of that. And that's where we're going right now. Thought control, police, what you are permitted to think, what you're permitted to do. Your children can be mutilated and turned into freaks off of some pipe dream. Somebody's getting high and smoking something, that they can switch genders. You're getting rid of masculinity, which fits in with what the Democratic Party is attempting to do. You're trying to destroy the traditional nuclear family. You're trying to destroy the access to higher education. You're trying to destroy vocational rehabilitation and education. You're trying to expand the prison system, which is what you're doing, because when you bring in these illegals, where do you think Black folk are going to get their jobs if they're being replaced in the job market to entry-level jobs or the mid-level jobs? And if you think there's an incentive to go to the penitentiary now by clowning, what do you think is going to happen? And I'm sure this will be affiliated with more and more perversion that's going on. It's not a good picture. And the other thing is you don't belong to a party. They didn't buy you at a slave auction. You should be independent enough so that periodically you can flop to the other party and say, this one doesn't treat us right. They're taking us for granted. So screw you. We can get a better deal over here. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're getting. Some people are beginning to snap out of it, and they're not comfortable with being treated like loyal dogs anymore.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, what another tactic that they're doing is shaming, right? They want to shame Black people, particularly even Black men, into staying,
No, well, they're not really shaming. Remember, this is the group that's trying to get rid of guilt and shame. What they're trying to do is evoke responses, so your negritude slave side will jump into play and you will come back. It's like you train the dog and the dog is running around until you use the dog whistle, and only the dog can hear it because it's too high pitched for humans, and the dogs come running. That's what they're doing. They're blowing the dog whistles.
So I want to stick on.
It may be guilt and shaming, but I see it more as evoking conditioned responses.
So I want to stick on Black men voting for a couple more minutes. Jamal Bowman, he was a congressman in the House of Representatives, but he lost his seat because he was on that pro-Gaza or pro-Palestinian, and the Jewish people that control those super PACs in the DNC said, well, we're going to put your war chest money into your opponent, and his ass didn't get reelected. He lost the election. Mm-hmm.
What percentage of the American population is Jewish?
Less than 5.
Less than 2.
But they have a whole lot of wealth.
They are organized, and
they're organized. Yeah, they have a very powerful organizational skills. So
yeah,
which can trump money.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to play this clip.
Nothing wrong with them, but I mean, it's just
No,
politics.
yeah, but
And
it's
look at the vice president. She's married to somebody who's Jewish and adopted 2 Jewish kids. That's ideal. You can kill off 2 birds with 1 stone. You get 1 fake colored person, and she's not black. And you get somebody that's under the control of somebody Jewish who is the one with the money that finances her little fantasies. So, yeah.
So I want to play this clip of Jamal Bowman. What are we doing, black men?
Yo, black men, on the real, man, on the real, what we doing? Like, what we doing right now? I'm going to give you one reason. Under no circumstance should we be rocking with Donald Trump. One reason alone. He took out a full-page ad in the New York Times to execute 5 black boys, teenagers under 16, of a crime they did not commit. Full-page ad to kill 5 black boys, our brothers, our sons, our nephews.
Please. That's so
Come on, man. Shit. What we even talking about? What else is there to say? Full-page ad, execution, 5 black boys. I'll give you one other reason. That was before he got into politics, when he was still in real estate and all that, and robbing people and all that. Full-page ad to execute 4 black boys early in life. January 6th insurrection with white supremacists later in life, after he lost the presidency. That's the kind of America we want to live in, man. What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing, man?
Yeah. Want a man, real man, not one of you sissies. And by the way, if those 5 had come in front of me and a jury had sentenced them to die, I'd signed the death warrants. They confessed. One of them's daddy brought him down and said, my boy's got something to tell you. They didn't beat it out of anybody. One of them confessed. And the rest of them played punk and fessed on up too. They should have manned up and insisted on the 5th Amendment. They didn't. And under the circumstances, it was a horrible crime. So let's get real about the whole damn thing. I don't find any problem with that. Under the circumstances, it was called for. Somebody should have said something about it. And then it turns out they just punked out and copped out. So, yeah, that's their problem.
Right.
And they were clowning around in that park the whole week before that, too.
Right. I love this still shot that I have right here on top of me of Obama's face.
What's that?
You see it? This picture right here of his face expression.
I can't really see it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I made it a little bit bigger.
Oh, Bathhouse Berry.
Yeah, I wanna quickly play this clip of him. I guess he's talking to young black men, potential voters.
Is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers.
You heard him?
Yeah, I did.
He's full of it because, dude, you don't live in their neighborhoods. You saying in our neighborhoods, in our other neighborhoods. You haven't lived in Black neighborhoods ever.
He lived in the compound of one of the richest men on earth, who also ran the death squads for his country. Nobody was messing with him. You had special status.
Right. And so,
and I hate, and to use their terms, I hate coons like this who think you belong to a massa.
And that's what I'm saying with the shaming brothers. First of all, you saying brothers aren't turning out for Kamala.
Give me a break.
Yeah. And we say now I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced. So he's basically doing a compare and contrast when he was running compared to Kamala. Well, first of all, we could say that you're half Black African, but you're Black, half Black. She is not half Black of anything. So that's number one. Number two, she doesn't know nothing. Like she's not fit for the job. And three, neither one of y'all could really relate. He's a good actor. He faked it.
Chick flick matinee star.
Right. She is just horrible. She's like a Z list actress.
And so, let me add something. One connection, he at least has a connection with the United States through his white mama. Kamala Harris Imhoff has absolutely no American connection. Her parents were transitory. They were here on academic visas. They never intended to become citizens. So she has no history. She does not have an understanding. She grew up in Canada, which sounds American, but it's not, because they're subjects up there. They're not citizens. They belong to the crown.
Right. And so I look at it like this with him, and even with her, and with the whole DNC. And I wanted to bring this up. So aside from shaming Black people, particularly Black men, and I hope Black men, please don't pay these people no mind.
They irritate the hell out of me.
Super PACs, right? When we talk about the super PACs, when we talk about organizations that have funding, or corporations or individuals, Black people as a whole don't make a lot of money. So when I heard Roland Martin with Stephen A. Smith talking about, well, me and you, we're in a different tax bracket. And when you are a business owner in a different tax bracket, you look at taxes differently. Yeah, you look at the tax cut policies differently, but someone making 40K looks at taxes as well. It's just that, it's different, but it's the same. But the majority of adult Black Americans that are working, 70% of them make $37,000 or less a year. That is a problem. And the Democrats are not talking about it. The Republicans do not cater to Black America because we're not part of the Republican Party. But their core value system, I would definitely say, is they're going to give you less government and get out of your way to make so that you can make something happen with your life.
And they're not going to try to make your children sex objects for perverts either.
Right. So it's not about brother or sister or sis. It's not about that. It's not about a cultural thing. It is about the policy. And it is about...
It's aggravating. I mean, they did absolutely nothing to continue what Black folk once did to get us as far as we have come. They just coasted and they enjoyed what's been done, and they haven't contributed anything else to it. They had the opportunity of a lifetime to be in charge with nobody over them, and they did not take what opportunities they had to push the envelope.
Mm-hmm.
Not one damn time, particularly Bathhouse Berry.
Exactly.
And like, for example, simple stuff. Why did he not pardon Jack Johnson?
Oh, Obama.
Yeah. The other thing, they asked him repeatedly and he refused. You know what that's part of?
Oh, he was asked that?
Yes. They kept approaching him. When they approached Trump, he said, oh yeah, him, sure. He knew who he was. Obama didn't. You know what it is representative of? The same thing with that witch he's supporting. Everybody knows that we are owed 20 acres and a mule. No, fool. Everybody in the United States that grew up here knows it's 40 acres and a mule. I don't care what your race is. So you didn't even know it. Barack did not know it. Kamala did not know it. And by the way, her name is not a black name, so there's no black pronunciation. Kamala is the name of a Hindu goddess.
Real quick, I want to read this because this is a message somebody posted on X. Obama's message to black men in PA tonight per Polar. Part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president, and you're coming up with, what is this? Oh, wait a minute. And you're coming up with alternative reasons. So this is Obama, and you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that, because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president, and you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that. He said that the women in our lives have been getting our backs this entire time, or having our backs, have been getting our backs. When we get in trouble and the system isn't working for us, they're the ones out there marching and protesting. And now you're thinking about sitting out or supporting somebody who has a history of degenerating you, because you think that's a sign of strength.
It's because we value masculinity and we think sense is sense, and this witch doesn't have a goddamn thing going for her, except she screwed a select few people. They get what she is. Well, she ain't screwing all of us because we won't let her.
He goes on to say that because you think that's a sign of strength, because that's what being a man is, putting women down, that's not acceptable. So just because you choose not to vote for her, he's automatically assuming that men are not voting for her because she's a woman. No, they're not voting for her because she doesn't know what she's doing. If that was Tulsi Gabbard, she will have more support from men than Kamala Harris. So I don't think it's a gender thing. I think
also maybe the men might have some respect for their mothers and the women in their lives, and they don't want a slut to be their face.
Maybe, but
think of it.
Yeah, but
the world looks at her.
Please don't call her names tonight, because I got to figure some things out with this algorithm. So we're not going to call her names. Let's just refrain from that.
I'll change it about. Let me say it another way. Considering what she has admitted to in terms of her relationships with various and sundry people,
I don't think that has nothing to do.
No, hold on a second. The world is aware of that. All of these little episodes have gotten around the world. And if she represented the United States, there'd be whispers every time she walked into a room about her behavior. How do you think Islam would react to her the way she's behaved? How do you think?
So let me just say this. That is teetering on being somewhat sexist, because
it is.
Wait. What you do in your bedroom is your business, whether you are a man.
No, it ain't. Not when it deals with the rest of the people that you're representing, 360 million.
So then wait.
Okay, now,
let me just say this then. So let me ask this question. So then if a man is a whore, then we should not vote.
Man can't be a whore. Anyway, bottom line is let me give you the counterpart to it. Crying Negro Network. Those embarrassing Negroes on CNN that are always crying and shedding tears. That's unmanly. It's ridiculous. I talk about that too. That's why I call CNN Crying Negro Network. You are somebody that was written about in the Old Testament relative to Babylon. Then you get the reprobation is cast on you. You're a mother. No, she's not a mother. You're supposed to be somebody that your children look up to. She doesn't have any. You're supposed to be the influence that walks in the room and everybody says, hey, man, there's a lady present, chill. And everybody chills out and starts acting civilized. But she hasn't done that.
Her not having kids, that have nothing to do with it, because
yes, it does. Because
let me finish. Let me tell you why. Some women cannot have children.
Well, then they can't. Some people can't.
So then that has nothing
can they fly
to do.
airplanes?
But if they know how to do a job, so whether you have kids or not, you can't say that, because some women cannot reproduce children.
Okay. All right. I'll give you an example. Situation we've discussed relative to a dog. The judge in question has never owned a dog in her life. So she doesn't have an understanding of what dogs can mean to people. She thinks of it just like you bought a chicken at the grocery store and you're going to fry it up. See, so when you don't have a sensitivity to something, that keeps you from doing your job. The point I'm making is you can be a great administrator, but you got to try extra hard, because if you aren't a parent, what's going on is you don't understand the sacrifices and what that really means on the ground for the next generation. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't adoptive parents that are great, but they raise some children from an early age. You don't get to be parents when your children that you adopt are teenagers getting ready to go to college. You didn't have to participate in any of the raw stuff. You never had to stay up late at night when you were dead tired because they were sick. You never had to feeling ill yourself, couldn't miss a day off from work because there are some things you just had to do. You don't get that. You don't understand how a lot of people will sacrifice for the next generation.
So let me
you
say
haven't
this.
had the gut reaction.
Okay, so let me say this though, because just because a woman is not a mother does not mean she would not be an effective in a position of leadership, whether it's a CEO, vice president, or president. The thing is, if a woman, stop interrupting me, let me finish. If a woman,
don't talk to me
if
like
a woman,
there you go, see,
because I'm
like
talking
this.
now, I was quiet when you were talking, so stop interrupting.
Go ahead.
Rude. Okay. So if a woman does not, if a woman does not have a child, that does not mean she cannot be in a position of any type of leadership. Please stop interrupting, because I fucking hate that. Now you made me lose what I was saying. You could still be an effective leader. This is what I was going to say. A woman who is a mother most likely does not have the time to be president, because that's a full-time job to be a parent. That's why usually the man works and you have the stay-at-home mom. So if she did have kids, she probably wouldn't achieve to be VP. Now you look at Hillary Clinton, yeah, she had one kid. We don't know how they was raising that kid. Their lifestyle could have been a little different. But in general, when women have children, that fast pace, trying to climb that corporate ladder is more difficult. But when we're talking about being in a position of leadership, you cannot say because she's a woman with no kids, she would not make a good leader. That's why I'm not using the motherhood thing. I get what you're saying as far as relating, but a woman can still be compassionate. A woman which is naturally already emotional, she's running around here talking about joy and peace. You know, that's on a woman's radar, which is kind of a problem. And if you want to be president or whatever, but to say because she's not a mother, to me, that's a weak talking point. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think it's a weak talking point. I'll take Vance, for example. He's married to an Indian. She's also a lawyer. She went to a better law school than Kamala did. She has done plenty of pro bono work and helped out a lot of people and has had a much more stellar law career than Kamala did. She has children. She's at home with him. She's handling her career and her children, so that's not an excuse. Men have a balance sheet too. See, you have to protect and provide, so that's why we don't live as long. That's why we are at risk. And if we just happen to take a nice little cruise down to the Caribbean and the ship starts sinking, we have to stay on board and sink with it like they did with the Titanic, and the women and children get on the lifeboat. That's the sacrifice we make. It used to be, until modern medicine got what it was, a woman's chances of dying in childbirth were the same as a man's chances of dying on a battlefield or in the hunting fields. And it evened out. And that's like why we have a situation where if the man hasn't put it all on the line, put himself at risk, been subjected to the chance of dying and seeing how he reacts, and had the confidence in his bravery and courage established to his own satisfaction, he shouldn't be commander-in-chief of the armed services. Now, people want to talk about Trump, but Trump did go through a military academy, and he has had hell thrown at him by this system that has been corrupted by the Democratic Party to go persecute him. Now, that shows that you have it. Barack Obama hasn't risked a damn thing in his life, nor has Kamala Harris, nor did Hillary Clinton. Now, Bill Clinton, I saw him do some things, I won't get into it now, where he showed me he had physical courage and bravery. Now, I was eyewitness to some of those, so I won't go there. George Herbert Walker Bush was the youngest combat pilot in the U.S. military in World War II, and he got shot down by the Japanese in a torpedo bomber, all right? John F. Kennedy commanded PT-109. Eisenhower was commander of the largest invasion force in human history. Truman was a decorated and wounded artillery captain in World War I. You have this whole thing where the people have demonstrated courage. You have Lyndon Baines Johnson. He sat there and he took on the sheriff and some nasty stuff in Texas before he decided to run for office. You've got people that have done things for real that demand courage, bravery, and the ability and willingness in the face of real life danger to stand. That's what you need when you get somebody in the White House. We have a candidate now who's never done anything. She has humped her way to the top. And at the top, that's not going to work. And she's 60 years old. She's old and wrinkled now. She's not the little cute 40-something-year-old that they try, well, if you like that kind of thing, that they show in the PR stuff. So what is she bringing to the table? As
I get
Judge, what's the name
I get
on
what you're saying.
What's the name on Fox? Judge,
I forgot. I think it's
the woman that's the judge. She was a career prosecutor. She said Kamala is not good at being a prosecutor. She's lousy at that. I'll take her word for it.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Everything that you're saying to say that she's not qualified, okay, but to throw in, oh, and she's not a mother, that has nothing to do with being a good leader or not. It really don't. And honestly, because you was laying out men and their military background and this, that, and the other, when it's time, when you're president of the United States and you have to get in that situation room and you have the codes to nuclear, or you give a command to drop bombs or whatever, you got to detach yourself, right? to whereas and there's always that question, can a woman do it? And then a lot of times if it's a woman with kids, women are always thinking or putting their kids first, right? So even if the president, let's say this, if the president's family is taken hostage or whatever, and he had to choose between his family or the country, you're supposed to choose the country. Can a woman make that decision? So to the point of the children, that's the only thing I'm talking about.
Okay, I get you.
Highlighted that.
Okay,
But let me just say this, to the point of the children, if she doesn't have kids, wouldn't that make that woman in that position decision making more better and less emotional?
I get your point. You have a point there. I can see the point. The only thing is there's a little bit more to it than that. You see, look, all through human history, what has been, even if you're talking about kings, what is it that has been a strike against any man who's been a king? He has no heirs. So who does the throne pass to? That causes the instability. That's the whole English, Anglo-Saxon, Norman, American tradition. You know, the king has no heir. That leads to civil war and a whole lot of other things. So the first thing is, where is the heir? And that is a problem. That goes both ways if you don't have an heir. And even for a guy, if he has no heirs, what kind of commitment does he have to the country? Now I know George.
But yeah, that would be related to modern day civilization, because
that would be relating to the old one too.
But to the old one, but to the old one, it's like you needed a boy, right? In order for your family line to stay in power, because if you ain't have a boy,
you get civil war if you're at the top.
Right. So, but today in modern day society, a man who don't have kids is leader, but we have our own succession of passing down leadership with the VP and all this other stuff. It doesn't go to their kids. But I get what you're saying, because take Trump, he has 2 grown boys. One of them, you said this during the RNC convention, he's going to end up running for office. So,
and he's got grandchildren. And
he has grandchildren. So that legacy, that Trump legacy, especially when it comes to being in office, is not going to end when Donald Trump leaves office.
It continues. Look at the Kennedys, look at the Clintons, well, look at the Bushes, look at the Roosevelts, look at the
but see, okay, so the Bushes, he had 2 daughters and none of them are in politics. So I think
but he had a son, the George
Bush Senior.
Yeah.
Right. And then and the son became president. Yeah.
Don't forget Jeb Bush, the other person who was governor of Florida.
That's right. He was governor. Yes. Yeah.
By the way, that was the one who was supposed to be being groomed for president, not drunk George W. Bush. Now,
remind me,
one other thing
one second, real quick. Make a note of this. Remind me to tell you something after the show. It's something that's going on, but remind me to tell you after the show.
Okay, will do. There's one other thing too. They have a saying in the military. You know what it is? You're not fit to give orders unless you've learned how to take them.
True. Yes.
So where does Kamala Harris learn to take orders?
I think. Oh, she know how to take orders.
Well, yeah,
that's all she know how to do, because you have
open
to
your
tell
mouth,
her everything.
Knees,
No, we're not going there.
I'm
saying she was just on a conference call whispering, "I'm live." She needs the teleprompter went out. She froze. She knows how to take orders. They tell her what to do every day in this campaign, even when she was VP.
Now, here's the other caveat. If you have learned to take orders so you can give orders, you need to be in a position to give effective orders and experience what happens. She has not had that. In other words, she hasn't been in charge of anything that she succeeded at. She failed as a prosecutor in San Francisco. She failed as California Attorney General. She was lackluster as a senator for the state of California. let's see, she failed at being the border czar spectacularly. She failed at the $42 billion bringing online access to rural America. She failed at that. She absolutely flunked the opportunity to be a sterling diplomat on the world scene because she got known as word salad. She talked in circles, and she lost 92% of her staff over the 4 years, original staff, because they said they were tired of staying up late at night trying to prepare briefs for her. She knew little to begin with, and then she insultingly wouldn't even read the briefs and would come up with word salad. So she hasn't been good at any of that. And now she's trying to tag in on coming in after the storm when she has nothing to offer except getting in the way.
So I want to swing to Diddy now, because we're
Diddy, Puff Daddy.
And this won't take long, like, you know, when he first got arrested and because this is this should be a quick segment. So today he was physically back in court today. They set the trial date for May 2025. His bail is still pending in the Second Circuit. So he is still sitting in jail until he get approved. If the Second Circuit say, yeah, he gotta get the bail. If not, he's gonna it's not funny, but it is funny. He's gonna be sitting there and not until the trial, even during the trial. So they may do him like they're doing YSL down in Georgia. But so
by the way, did you see the gag order that the judge issued?
Because his lawyers asked for one, and yeah, they asked for a gag order, and
the government asked for a mutual gag order. They've already been able to shoot their mouth off with that insane conference that the U.S. attorney for New York came up with, or the city, where he for a half hour talked about Diddy masturbating and how many tubes of lubricant he had, which had nothing to do with the case. And then he threw something in how he brutalized the woman, which was a pimp game thing, in the elevator and in the hotel, which has nothing to do with his case. So the damage is done.
So this is his mom walking in the courtroom today, and all of his children, even his daughters, they were present in court as well. And as she was walking in, they were saying, "Your son is a predator."
By the way, I don't find that
Janice, how are you feeling?
I don't find that a smooth move.
Your son is a predator.
You don't find what a smooth?
I don't find having your grandmama and your mama walk in is a smooth move. You keep them at home so they don't get exposed to the raw stuff.
Well, she probably wanted to be there because
I don't care. You tell them to stay home.
Well,
black males are too damn over mommy.
I don't think it's that, because honestly,
keep your mama at home.
No. Let me say this. It looks, and a lot of times when you do have your family there showing support, that does look good in the court.
No, it doesn't.
To you, it doesn't.
I mean, I dealt with it. I found it didn't make any difference one way or the other. When you're in there.
Well, I found that from people that I've known that it did. So
Well,
I guess it depends on what. I guess it depends on what state or county that you're in.
Well, we did a little thing for the show one time. We did a little research to add up the number of people I'd represented or I'd talked to as witnesses, or I'd had as litigants or defendants or witnesses or jurors. And this was like year 3 of the show, and the total was about 85,000 people, which is a pretty good sample. And I imagine at about 6-7 people per day per case times 52 weeks worth, 5 days a week, that added a few thousand more to the total. I'm just telling you, there's not really much influence, though you can get some. I've used it a time or two, but your mother sitting there is not going to impress the jury, because actually when you talk to the jurors afterwards, they'll tell
The
you.
juror was not there. There was no jury in this.
I know, but I'm just saying it's a bad habit. You know what they say? Why didn't she keep him under control? Or why didn't she raise him better?
Let me play this clip here.
Sean Diddy Combs appeared in federal court today. It was the music mogul's first appearance before a new judge who will preside over his trial on sex trafficking charges. The previous judge recused himself because of a relationship with one of Combs' attorneys. A trial date was set for May 5th of next year. Now, prosecutors say so far, they have seized 100 electronic devices from Combs. They're now working to extract data. 51 of them were found at his LA mansion during that raid in March. Others found at his Miami estate and on his person during a search at a private airport in Florida. Now, Combs remains in federal custody after previous requests for him to be released on bail were denied. He also denies all of the charges against him. Joining us now is ABC News senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky, who is in that courtroom. So, Aaron, first of all, it sounds like authorities also subpoenaed records from Combs' company as well. What's the latest there?
They did. We don't know what they subpoenaed, but we know that prosecutors believe Combs did not act alone. He's the only one charged, but they believe as the leader of what they've called a criminal enterprise, there were a network of people who worked for him, who enabled freak-offs, these orgies that women were allegedly forced to partake in after they were drugged and held against their will. So prosecutors are amassing a lot of evidence. That's all going to be part of this trial now set for May 5th.
And of course, that reignites the question here of will we see more defendants named? But also, Aaron, we know that Combs' lawyers are accusing federal prosecutors and agents of leaking that hotel surveillance footage of Combs that prosecutors say shows him attacking his then girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. And Aaron, we know this was originally obtained by CNN, but what are both sides in this case arguing about that piece of video?
Well, the defense is accusing the government of leaks, and they want it to stop. The government says that's a baseless accusation. The government didn't even have the video before it aired on CNN, a prosecutor said, and they said this was just a defense tactic to try and get a damning piece of evidence removed from the case.
And Aaron, since you were in the courtroom there today, what was his demeanor like today? And does his team at all have a chance of getting him out on bail before this trial starts in May?
Diddy was a lot more relaxed today, Kana. He looked a lot less bloated than we've seen him during prior appearances. He was in a jail-issued beige, kind of ill-fitting smock and pants. He was shackled at the ankles, no handcuffs, so he was able to wave to his mother and children who filled 2 rows of the courtroom. The defense is still asking for his release on bail, but they have an appeal pending before a federal appeals court. So there was no application today. And the defense, if they can't get him released, are going to stick with MDC in Brooklyn, this troubled federal lockup. So far, it seems to be going well, the defense says, though they say they reserve the right to try and move him somewhere else.
All right. We know there's a lot to come still. All right, Aaron Katursky, thank you.
All right, real quick, one second, Judge. You heard it, right?
Yeah, I heard it.
So let me do this. Southern Belle, do me a favor. Then let me just do this quick disclaimer. Southern Belle and Catalia. I meant to mention this before, but I'm mentioning it now. Anybody in there complaining about me that has nothing to do with the topic, don't even delete them, just hide them. I am not playing with y'all. It's some things that are going on right now with this algorithm from this whole month up until this election. A lot of stuff is going on that you idiots, and I'm calling you idiots because you don't know what it is like to be a content creator. Y'all don't understand, and you never will, and that's fine. If people are complaining, oh, he's an elderly, you need to apologize, just hide them. Just hide them, because I don't have time for that. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care because they don't have a clue. And I honestly, I don't want you over here if you are easily distracted and worried about me. Because I produced this here. Just hide them. Don't even delete it. And if they are, and these other people, oh, she's rude, she's disrespectful, you need to stop talking to you, but just hide them. I'm not playing. My allergies is going. I got to deal with so much stuff behind the scenes. Just hide them. So the Diddy thing, back to the program. Rapper seen in prison clothes and new court sketches with his doting mom Janice lurking in the background. What are your thoughts on, do you think his bail may be approved in the Second Circuit?
$50 million offered, 5 different lines of security on it. It ought to be accepted. I mean, he turned his passport in. He returned from an island that had no extradition agreement with the United States. He moved to New York so he could be closer to the seat of the prosecution. That shows that he's likely to appear. The Fifth Amendment to the United States Constitution says that bond is only to ensure that the person will show up for the balance of the proceedings. It's not to punish because you're presumed innocent until you're proven guilty. The bond is only to be reasonable, not excessive, and it is only need be enough to ensure that you show back up. Now, technically probably would qualify for a release on his own recognizance, but we have had this left-wing nonsense these days that is demanded punishment for the bond, with the bond, as though somebody has been convicted. That started off with the far right, and it flips back and forth depending upon what particular political or social outlook is going on. I would just notice that as a comment on that, if somebody has a claim of damages against a person for killing a relative, the statute of limitations is going to be either 1 year to file an action. In a lot of states, it's becoming 2 years, and in the very few, it's 3. But the statute of limitations for pinching somebody's butt on a date is ramped up to 25, and in some places now 50 years. So a butt pinch is more serious than a homicide. I don't buy it. What's going on here?
So it says Diddy's appeal will be considered by the Second Circuit of Appeals and is considered a last-ditch attempt at freedom unless there are major developments in the case. What major developments might there be?
Well, in other words, one of his confederates has access to copies of the tapes and starts releasing them. That gets around the gag order because you can't gag somebody without violating the First Amendment if they're not before the court. So his bodyguard has already released some stuff. Hopefully he had sense enough to have duplicates, because it looks like what he was putting together when he videoed all of this stuff over 15 years was to get himself protection from getting jammed up by some of the people who are quite foul in Hollywood and in the entertainment industry. And you saw that video of his 50th birthday party that the bodyguard said included quite a few of the people who were in some of these tapes in attendance at these sex parties, these freak
offs. So one last thing on the Diddy thing. the prosecutor said they estimate that their case would take about 3 weeks, while the Combs lawyers said they need about a week to make their case. So they're saying, I guess, overall, 3 weeks total.
A month, 3
Well,
weeks.
okay. Oh, okay, so I guess 3 weeks for the prosecutors and only 1 week for the defense. So that would be a month.
Yeah, he's only got 3 counts of the indictment, even though they took 14 pages and did half-hour worth of press release for it. And there's a lot of extraneous stuff in there that's highly prejudicial. I mean, hell, he may get it overturned if he gets convicted because of the prejudicial nature of the prosecutorial conduct was highly prejudicial in terms of inflaming the public and does a great deal of damage to the prospects of getting a fair and impartial jury selected. 3 weeks is a minimum. I don't think they'll be able to get through this in 3 weeks. I can remember a federal trial up here in Jackson, Tennessee on a drug case. It lasted 3.5 weeks. Just I was involved in it as a lawyer, so that was nowhere near as lengthy as this.
So, disclaimer. So I said, remind me to tell you something about Kamala off the air. Remind me to tell you something about Diddy off the air too when the show is over. Yo, you have that's what I'm saying. People have no idea. No idea. It will literally drive you crazy. And I'm not about to let it drive me crazy. No, I'm just going to consult with some people, some professionals off the air to counter what is going on. But just those 2 things, Kamala and Diddy off the air.
Remember, anything you say that's counter to the Democratic Party position is misinformation, even if it's true. So they want to suppress that. So anybody listening, you have to deal with the fact that YouTube is an agent arm, the propaganda arm, along with the rest of mainstream media with the Democratic Party right now. And they are trying to make sure that the Baba Yaga Trump does not get back in because they want the country effeminized, the family broken up, and the children exploited as sexual objects, and no guilt, no shame, no responsibility. Everything goes, and no morality and no ethics.
Well, and yeah, guys, if you have a question or a comment, please send it via super chat. Yeah, but the 2 things that I said that I need to talk to you about off the air is a reflection directly of you. But I'll tell you off the air. So we talk about so-called misinformation, but is you, but I tell you off the air. All right. So let's go down to 2 more things, Georgia and SCOTUS. Let's go to Georgia real quick. And this part won't take long. Democrats can't make Georgia governor investigate state election board, judge says. A Republican-led board recently passed changes to election rules, including an election night hand count of ballots and a rule requiring reasonable inquiry. Fulton County judge dismissed the lawsuit Wednesday by Democrats who tried to force Governor Kemp to launch an ethics investigation of Republican state election board members. The Democrats can't compel the governor to start ethics hearing, which will lead to the removal from office. Based on letters to Kemp, they label as formal charges. Superior Court Judge Ural Glanville, he was the one that was recused off of the YSL case.
Learned his lesson.
Said as he ruled from the bench. So that was his quote. Oh, I'm not paying for this, so we can't read the rest, but we get the gist. So, yeah. What are your thoughts?
Well, they can't. And also they have demanded, the election board has demanded a presentation of some records on several 100,000 votes in the last ballot casting episode that don't quite look kosher.
So do you think so? And this is also the Democrats' way of trying to get back at the Republicans on how they are, dragging Fannie Willis. So
Well, Fannie Willis deserves to be dragged.
right. And then maybe if this case wasn't ruled against them, that probably would have helped their case against Trump.
I don't think that case is going anywhere against Trump.
True, but I'm just saying, if this case, this election case here, if this judge never dismissed it and let them pursue it, would it have hurt the Trump case in Georgia?
No, It's independent. The other thing too is you saw what happened in the RICO trial against the rap group. The judge kind of roasted them when the prosecution got roasted when they wanted to introduce the guys' pictures of the guys' tattoos in evidence. And the judge kind of smacked them down.
Right. So yeah. So anything else you want to say on this Democrats can't make Georgia governor investigate state election board?
No. They're
All
just
right.
doing their job. See,
do you think that's the Democrats' way of trying to interfere with the
No, they're trying to cover for their corruption. See, these things that are on the table, people can go to the penitentiary for. And when you start pulling them off and start using your press to protect you, remember the press can be fickle as well. And it doesn't have to go the way you anticipate.
Right. All right, let's get to the Supreme Court. Honey,
The ghost guns.
Yeah, wait.
In other words, the law has been that you can sell components for a weapon all day long. There's a trade, upgrade, replacement parts, things like that. And then making a firearm is interesting. The gun manufacturers themselves subcontract stuff out like forging frames, molding frames, forging the slides, the barrels, that kind of stuff. And they buy them in a semi-finished condition. Well, the law says that it is not a firearm if it is no more than 80% completed. In other words, it's straight out of the forge, shaped to the general shape, but you still have to grind out the extra. You have to shape things. You have to put the carefully located pivot points that's drilling the holes. And if it's no more than 80%, it's not a completed weapon. It's not a completed frame. It does not have to be registered. That's been long the law. You can make a gun at home from scratch if you want to. There's no law against it. The laws that they do have are only such as impact interstate commerce. And that's the gist of it. Now, the argument that you gave me the link to, where it was the actual live argument in front of the Supreme Court, the government's representative was full of it. She kept saying, Your Honors, it's just one hole. That's just the technicality. No, it's not just one hole. She was talking about the P80 stuff, which is replacement frames for Glocks. Glocks, for some people, have a horrible grip angle, and these finger grooves they put on them were an irritation to a lot of people. And they were selling 80% complete frames. They have no holes drilled in them. The matter is not finished. You couldn't just bolt it together and get a functional gun. And as far as accurately drilling the holes, you get them even 100th or 1,000th of an inch off, and the gun's not going to work when you start putting it together. So it's not one hole. Most of them are for third generation Glocks, and that's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes that have to be drilled in the thing, and a good deal of grinding and clearance machining. So it's not something you can just go take a hand drill and finish out. It's going to take a bit of precision. Now, if you have the money, you can get 3D printing material, and you can go to the patent office and you can get copies of the patents for the weapons involved. And you can take them home, program your 3D printing machine, and what winds up happening is you get the finished product out, and you can put it in a CNC machine that you can program, and it'll kick out what you need in terms of the parts. That's if you've got enough training, vocational training, in how to operate lathes and CNC machines and operate 3D printing machines. And you make it on your own. So the idea is kind of strange because it's not going to stop anything. Ghost guns aren't serial numbered, but then people, if they want to, they can take them into a dealer with that they've made and get a serial number put on them, and they can have the doggone thing put into the system if they choose. But it's been long the law that they're following, I mean, for like years and years and decades. So they want to change because they are afraid of a scant few firearms that have been made that way. It's not like this is a wave of criminality. This is a few instances, and what they're really trying to do is go after Glocks.
So, well, Kamala says she own a Glock.
No, Kamala lies about it, just like she did 20 acres in a mule.
Well, okay,
so greens, she clean greens. You don't clean greens, you pick greens.
So let's go back to this Supreme Court. It says Supreme Court on Tuesday appeared ready to uphold the 2022 federal law.
Who wrote that?
Let me just read this. The Supreme Court on Tuesday appeared ready to uphold a 2022 federal rule regulating so-called ghost guns, untraceable weapons without serial numbers, assembled from components or kits that can be bought online. Defending the rule, U.S. Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar described an explosion in crimes committed with ghost guns.
That's bullshit.
She told the justices that the whole reason why you want to get your hands on one of these unserialized, untraceable firearms is if you are barred by law from having a gun, or if you want to use that gun in a crime. But
damn lie.
But Peter Patterson, representing the challengers in the case, argued that in adopting the rule, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearm, and Explosives exceeded its authority by operating outside of the bounds set by Congress in the Gun Control Act of 1968.
Mm-hmm.
The ATF.
Exactly. That's what they did with that thing with quite a few other rules that they knocked back down, including the pistol braces, some other things too. Congress didn't give them the authority to declare other things machine guns when it flies in the face of what Congress designated by regulation and statute.
So it says a group of challengers that included 2 individual gun owners and a gun rights advocacy group went to the federal court in Texas seeking to block ATF from enforcing the rule. U.S. District Judge Reed O'Connor agreed with them and barred the agency from applying the rule anywhere in the United States. And the conservative U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit largely upheld that decision. But after O'Connor issued his order, the Biden administration came to the Supreme Court asking the justices for permission to enforce the rule while it applied by a vote of 5-4 with Justice Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, now Gorsuch, and Brett Kavanaugh, indicating that they would have denied the request. The Supreme Court allowed the rule to remain in place.
That's not dispositive of the issue.
So the lady, her name is Amy Howe, or Howe, Howe. This is her SCOTUS blog, and all of the cases in the Supreme Courts she writes about, and is argument analyst. She analyzes, and keeps everyone up to date on what cases they are arguing at the Supreme Court, and she writes her article here in her blog. So, I mean, it was just a title, Court Likely to Let Biden's Gun Control Regulations Stand. We don't know. But so yeah. So from the argument,
I don't think they're going to let it stand permanently. They may be indicating that the issue is not right for them adjudicating yet because there's been no application and they want to see how it looks in the real world. And the solicitor for the government is a piece of crap, the way she put it. This isn't causing an explosion in crime. That's not what's going on. Most of the people that are doing the crime, they aren't machinists. So they don't know how to do these things, at least not with the sufficient accuracy. The other point is the overwhelming number of people that do this are just hobbyists who are dissatisfied with some very unfortunate shortcomings with Glocks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Glock has become the most widespread pistol used by police, law enforcement agencies, etc., around the world. It's made in Austria. Gaston Glock passed this year, and he designed the thing with engineering principles with no real experience in firearms. There are some very clumsy things about the internal arrangements for a Glock, but it functions. It's a paragon of reliability, but it's got problems, and they are working on them. So they're quite popular. Everybody owns Glocks.
Okay. All right. So I just wanted you to, Thursdays, listen, I kind of want to cater Thursdays to, legal matters, even though we're really not going to escape talking politics because we're 1 month out from the election, which is very important. Let me get to
election of electors.
Yes.
We're not electing.
Because you know what's going to happen. Trump is going to win because the Electoral College is going to vote him to win. But she's going to tote around like Hillary Clinton. But I win a popular vote. At least I got that. So she's going to, even though she's not going to be the winner, she's going to say, well, I'm technically am a winner because the people wanted me. And maybe it's time we get rid of the Electoral College because now some Congress people like AOC is talking of, wanting to get rid of it. No, we need it. But thank you, Walter Wilburn, for the super chat. The future is now. Why does Judge Joe Brown always have tell the truth? Dana, can you convince to tell just one lie? Just saying. Okay. So he's giving you a compliment.
Okay, let me just say something too about the Electoral College. If you look at a map of the United States broken down into states, and you look at the ones that are likely to go Democratic and the ones that are likely to go Republican, you will be intrigued when you note the hugely greater landmass covered by the Republican states. They don't necessarily have the population density of the blue areas. But if there was a military conflict and you saw all of this red territory, and you reflected on what happened during the American Civil War when only 11 of the states seceded from the Union. And what wound up happening was the bloodiest war that the U.S. has ever been in. And as a matter of fact, the casualty count is almost twice that of all of the rest of the wars the U.S. has been in combined. If you look at that and you understand that state is synonymous with nation, you could call the United States of America the United Nations of America. It's small sovereign states that decided to join together, originally 13 of them, into a bigger conglomeration like you have with the Euro Union. You have France and Germany in the Euro Union, and they have been at war for a couple of thousand years with each other. You have Greece, Turkey, you have Italy in there, you have Switzerland, Denmark, all of the rest of these places. And they have had animosities going back thousands of years. They're sovereign nations, and they're not about to give up all of their sovereignty to any one group, so that, let's say, Berlin or Paris ran the whole operation. They won't go that way. Well, the same thing with the way our country was set up. A state is a nation, it's sovereign, and they decided to unify with other states / nations to make a more powerful one, 13 to be precise, former colonies. And they are not going to give up all of their authority or sovereignty. That's why we have 2 senators from each state, no matter how big, how small. But when it comes to members of the House, they are elected based on population. So, of course, California has more than Maine. But when you start talking about what can be done militarily, terrain features versus wide open territory versus just desert versus something else, forest, trees, all kinds of things, it evens out. So what happens is you have an electoral college situation. So you don't have a scene where you might as well just have everybody stay home, and whoever California, New York, and Illinois decide they want for president becomes president. The rest of the people can go screw themselves. So I don't think that would work out too well.
All right. Thank you, Trevor. Happy birthday, Dana. I'm 56 tomorrow, October 11th. Love to shout out my October babies. Yes. Happy birthday, Trevor. 56. Yeah. Triple X. Come on now, Dana. Give JoJo his respects. Oh, yeah, I hid you because and you only sent in $2. Nigga, please. And yes, I said nigga, because he deserved it. This is another troll. And right after I show your comment, Simon, I will be hiding you too, because y'all think I'm playing. I bet you don't talk to them white folks like that. Oh, yes, I do. Yes,
she does.
And that's the thing. Like I those are the ones I really hope talk to me sideways, but they don't. But even when they don't, like when people comment under the videos when the show is over, but you could comment in the comment section. It was this white guy because he had his whole picture there and his profile. Oh, honey, he wrote a paragraph. Very professional. I love watching the program between you and the judge or whatever. However, you need to stop doing this and stop doing that. I didn't reply. Hide. It's not even about deleting. Hide. You're not going to come up in here and tell me what to do in my house, in my shit. Somebody just got cussed out last week and the shit went viral because you tried to come into that man's house and tell him what to do, but you set your mammy ass, nappy headed mammy ass on a white man platform, which I'm about to bring to your attention, on a white man platform. And you were nice, feminine, and respectable. When you get on a black person platform, you want to act like a nappy-headed mammy. So that's why I said to my moderators, when people say, oh, she rules, she this, off topic and focusing on me because I get upset with him when I'm being interrupted, and not even me being upset. I'm not even upset. Just hide them. Like, this is not a game. So let me hide you right now. Thank you. Thank you, KLG. Hi, Dana and Judge. Questions for JJB. What is Agenda 2030? Is it party affiliated? Is it a threat to democracy? Also, Waltz mentioned getting rid of the electoral vote. Thoughts? Well, he just broke it down, but I never heard of 2030.
I have neither.
Okay.
Project 25 is a construct by the Heritage Foundation that, by the way, gave Obama their third highest rating when he was in the Senate. So Trump has repeatedly denounced that. It's 992 pages long.
Well, if Waltz,
go ahead.
If Waltz is talking about the electoral vote, getting rid of it, because they already know they're going to lose. That's why they want to. They want the popular vote, but because they know they're going to lose. Anytime people say, let's get rid of the electoral college, that's because they know they're losing.
Well, let me say something about that. Some people have the mistaken idea that the United States is a corporation because its structure looks like one. It is not. Most definitely is not. But corporations, which weren't really invented in the United States when the Constitution was adopted, are modeled on the U.S. government. Now, the way it works for a corporation is you have stockholders. The stockholders elect the board of directors, and the board of directors select a CEO, a chief executive officer, and other officers of the corporation. The stockholders are analogous to the taxpayers or the citizens. The stockholders elect a board of directors. The citizens elect a board of directors called the Electoral College. The board of directors elects the chief executive officer, and the board of electors elects the chief executive officer, known as the president. So they work the same way, and that's why we have it as we have it. There are some very pragmatic reasons, and as I stated just a few minutes ago,
there are reasons that make sense, which is why no one in Congress ever tried to get rid of it except for the last 4 years, because they just want, that's another ploy for them to stay in power. Real quick,
they're dumb bunnies. They don't think.
Thank you, John. Lowers are also for an AR-15 and other guns. The ones that they don't want out there are the AR-15 lowers with no SN number. They got to have that illegal government database.
Yeah, I know. And the other thing is, it's kind of superfluous. For example, you have to fill out the federal forms in Tennessee to purchase a firearm, all right? ATF will come by and check those things sporadically or regularly without notice. But it is illegal under Tennessee law to report or record an actual serial number for a firearm. So they have the data that is in a gun shop someplace that a person bought a firearm. It lists what it is, but it's kept in the gun shop, and there's no database to reflect what somebody bought. So actually, it's the same kind of situation. The federal government doesn't have a record of who bought what. Now, the folk who are back east, they're kind of a fit. They are used to running around scared or not being vigilant enough, and they think somebody's supposed to protect them. But other people in the country realize that when somebody's protecting you, they also have power over you, and instead of protecting you, they can repress you under the wrong kind of circumstances. So that is a danger.
Mm-hmm.
the rest of what happens is acceptable collateral consequence to being able to be
So
free.
this is the thing. Because we're short on time here. I wanted, because I like to bring a little history into it. Senator Eastland, speaking of Electoral College, speaking of the president, speaking of Congress, speaking of Democrats versus Republicans, Senator Eastland, known racist, lifelong Democrat. He didn't leave the office until 1978. He died in 1986 at the age of 81. And he always remained a Democrat. So when you have these Democrats today saying that, well, the Republicans are racist, Trump is a racist because those were the Democrats that left the Democrat Party and went Republican, that's not true. Those
Only one did.
Which one was that?
I don't remember, but I know it's the
But
statistic.
those Dixiecrats, those racist Dixiecrats of prior to 1965 stayed with the Democrats after 1965. And I say 1965 because that was the Civil Rights Act. And they want to claim that those racist Democrats left and went Republican afterwards. No, they still had the Southern strategy. That was not just a Republican thing. That was also Democrats creating that as well. So Senator Eastland, briefly, do you want to just highlight him?
Senator Eastland was from guess what state?
Mississippi.
Yeah. Now, what does that say about things when he was a lifetime representative of Mississippi from way back when?
1928. That's when he first started in office in the
Now,
state.
what do you think he was like? He was a sympathizer with the Klan. And don't forget Stennis from Mississippi. And don't forget Byrd, the Grand Dragon of the Klan nationally. They all were mentors for Joe Biden. And as a matter of fact, when I first heard Joe Biden in 1972, they got up and introduced him as the newest and greatest hope for the Dixiecrats.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, Biden says his mentors were those three, and he gave the eulogy at Byrd's funeral. Byrd was, like I said, Grand Dragon for the Klan.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, when we talk about even with the Civil Rights Act being passed, again, these Democrats, and let's just say specifically the Congressional Black Caucus, even white Democrats, they like to say that it was the Democrats that passed the act. No, Lyndon B. Johnson signed it, but he didn't really have a choice, right? Because
No. Here's the story.
Wait, let me just say my little piece. The thing is, there were technically more Republicans percentage-wise that voted for the Civil Rights Act than Democrats.
That's true.
And that it's a myth when they try to tell you otherwise. So the Democrats at that time did not want it to pass. And going back to the basic foundation of the Republican Party, give them their rights and let them go and pursue happiness, right? We're not going to give you reparations. We don't even want to give you welfare. We want you to be able to go out there and make it happen, and we won't stand in your way. So, which is technically better. But the whole point that I'm trying to make here is it is a myth when they say that those racist Democrats went on a Republican side. They did not. They stayed. And Senator Eastland was one of them. But that.
Okay, here's the thing. Lyndon Baines Johnson was not what he's portrayed to be these days. Okay, he used the N-word, a lot of stuff, but he actually did a whole lot of stuff for black folk that other people did not do. And he got the Civil Rights Act in through an interesting dodge. Kennedy had introduced a very weak civil rights bill that when he died, wound up being withdrawn by LBJ and a much stronger one substituted. Now, how did LBJ get these few Democrats who did support it from the South to support it? He's a big guy. He'd literally lean on somebody's shoulder with his elbow, punch him in the chest and say, let me tell you something. He said, you're going to give the niggers what they want this year. He said, I'm going to make your constituents think you a commie-loving bastard. What he did is he had the brilliant sense to put in the preamble to the Civil Rights Bill that it was a military bill. It says, whereas the United States of America is engaged in a life or death struggle with the forces of totalitarianism and communism throughout the world, whereas the troops are the front line and whereas the morale, etc., whereas the troops are long integrated, and the base commanders cannot ensure fair treatment for the military personnel in regions of the South, which diminishes the readiness of the United States military to take on these totalitarian forces, etc., etc. Be it resolved that the Civil Rights Bill is necessary as a military matter to keep up the morale of the troops and sailors and airmen and sailors of the United States military. So that's how he got it in. He said, I'll make your constituents think you are a commie-loving bastard if you vote against this. And Johnson knew where all the skeletons were, the closets and the graveyards that contained them. Black people were very upset when he did not run for president again. That's who got Black folk behind the Democratic Party. It was not Kennedy. It was LBJ. And that legacy has continued way past its usefulness, way past the point where something has corrupted it. We're not going into it tonight, but it is what it is. You there?
Oh, I forgot that I was muted. That's it. I was going to bring up Menendez brother and illegals, but I'll say that for Monday. That's it for the night. Good show. Oh, I put subscribers only for the chat, and I noticed all the people that was complaining, y'all weren't subscribers. So I think I'm gonna leave it in the live chat, subscribers only. And most importantly, it's my birthday season. Click the link to buy me a present from my registry. I have a birthday registry. These are a few of my favorite birthday theme gifts. And I want to thank the New Party because they bought me a lovely gift card that was in the registry. And I want you guys to go and subscribe to the New Party. I had them on the show Wednesday. And so yeah, go and follow at the New Party on YouTube. And thank you guys for the lovely gift. I showed another gift that I got on Tuesday. I showed that gift. That was the coffee maker. And I got that from Thomas J. Because I know it was another Thomas B, but I think he got me a gift card. And I'm going to highlight that on Monday. So the link is in the description. The link is in the chat if you want to buy me a birthday present. And I also put a charity for triple negative breast cancer because it's breast cancer month. So you could donate to the charity as well if you like. And sign the guest book. Anything you want to say in closing, Judge?
Vote red.
I know that's right. Go red. Chicago, go red. Vote red. Yes. Yes, honey. It's time to go to another plantation, which is technically not. Actually, no. It's time. Leave the plantation and go on your 40 acres and a mule. Yeah.
Get yourself off that slave plantation. Whether you're white, black, brown, red, or yellow, you don't get owned by anybody. And please don't act an ignorant fool. Somebody put something on X today where they interviewed someone. It was a bimbo. That's the best way to describe it. Well,
What's her initials? What's her initials?
What's that?
What's her initials?
No, it was just somebody they interviewed on the street.
Oh.
I'm voting for the woman. What's her name? I don't know, but I'm voting for the woman. Said, but you don't know what her name is. No, I know Trump. I'm voting against him because he's bad. Where'd you hear that? Well, I just heard he's bad. Well, what did he do? I don't know, but they said he was bad. Well, what did he do that was bad? I can't tell you, but I know he's bad because I heard he's bad. Like, bimbo, please.
It's like a popularity contest. Sad but true. That's why other countries laugh at us, you know, because they know that we don't vote policies.
This woman didn't even know Harris's name, but she's gonna vote.
Was she young? Was she young?
Yeah, she had on a pair of shorts, and she's going, oh, I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose I'll vote. No, stay home, fool.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Stay backstage, Judge. I'm gonna play the outro. I have the outro lined up. So just stay backstage, and when that outro is over and I end it, I'm gonna bring you back up so I can tell you about those two things.
Okay.
Say goodnight. Good night, guys.